Forget about it. Don't.
Here we are at the old commissary building of the Franklin Gold Mine. This is pretty much the remaining standing structure, at least that's visible from the road, that's mostly intact. This road that goes here and goes beyond this was the original road that came in along the gold mine. The road discontinued here. It did not continue as the modern day Yellow Creek Road keeps going. The road ended here at least up until the 1930s. If you follow this road beyond the commissary building here of the Franklin Gold Mine, around to your right to the hills over there, you'll find Andrews Cemetery. Back in the 1800s, the early 1800s, almost to the early 20th century, the Franklin Gold Mine was the most active and profitable gold mine in Cherokee County, one of the most profitable in the Cherokee Territory. Eventually, the miners accidentally dug under the Etowah River and flooded the tunnels. Folklore will have it that so much water got sucked down the Etowah that it briefly changed direction, but I don't believe that. Mary Franklin, widow Mary Franklin, won the lot in the land lottery of 1832, but gold lots were the ones to win, and she won this one. A man named John Pasco immigrated from England through Canada and then to here, and he leased out 10 acres here, and he built a stamp mill. A stamp mill is a giant mill that's designed to crush ore to get the gold out, but later died of mercury poisoning because mercury is used to amalgamate gold particles to build it into bigger pieces of gold. Mercury poisoning was fairly common back in the day, and Mr. Pasco had died by the 1850s. John Pasco built this house in 1846. It later became the headquarters of the gold mines. And one day, one of its residents was on this bridge, looking over the Etowah River by the Franklin Gold Mine. There was an old iron bridge crossing down this way. Back in 1905, on April 26th, Edward Axson, his wife and his son drowned here. He lived in the Pasco house. He was one of the managers of the gold mine. What most people don't know is Edward Axson was the brother-in-law of President Woodrow Wilson. Here we are at the ruins of Andrews Chapel here in Cherokee County in Ophir. If you look on my compass here, we're almost directly west, which makes sense. I'll explain that later. You see the remains of the rock wall outline of the foundation here to my bottom left, and it goes up and it's a rectangle. I'm walking east from the ruins of the church foundation. Why is that? Because in over 90% of the cases, especially in North Georgia, cemeteries are placed east of the church. Why is that? The heads are buried facing west and the feet of the dead are facing east, so when they arise at the second coming of Christ, there are over 250 graves here, only of which about 25 to 28 are legible still. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of these. We're just past the ruins of the foundation here in Andrews Cemetery. I'm going to walk up to one or two stones here. There's Mary Donald, born in 1806, died in 1869. And here is a more recent tombstone, but from an older grave. Thomas Francis was born and served in the War of 1812, and he died, it looks like 1876. This tombstone was put here by one of his ancestors in the early 20th century. Moving on, I'm going to show you some other tombstones here. They're all over the place, under down trees. I apologize for the background noise. Here's an old crypt that's obviously fallen into disrepair, as has this whole cemetery, which is abandoned and has been. The church burned down around 1906, which is around the same time that the Franklin Gold Mine flooded. And I believe this chapel and this cemetery were of a community that supported the Franklin Gold Mine. Here's another crypt that's been broken in. This is John Moore, and this is Ann Moore, And as you can see, there are dozens and dozens of tombstones around. Here's another one, big one over here and several over here. Let's go over here. In general, when cemeteries are plotted out, the more you benefited the church, the more you were an esteemed elder of the church, the closer to the church foundation you would be. And the more scandalous you were, or the more of ill repute, the farther you would be. I'm not making any commentary on where these are. I'm just commenting. Here's a gill strap. Here's another gill strap. Someone that fought in the Civil War on the side of the Confederacy. Here's Mary Farmer. And over here we have a Hardin. And over here we have a collapsed stone. And we have here another gill strap. So I'll mention that the gill straps, the Wilkies, and the Hardins are all still local families to this area. There's some other tombstones out here like McGilvray and the Pascos, of which Pasco was John Pasco, the gentleman I mentioned earlier, who helped found a stamp mill and then died of mercury poisoning. His grave's out here too. Here's Private Jeremiah Pasco, related to John Pasco, the man who built the Pasco house and helped find the stamp mill here. Mary Pasco is over here. You can see her from here. Immediately surrounding here are a bunch of Wilkie tombstones and others. Well, I hope you enjoyed your venture into Andrews Chapel Cemetery here in Cherokee County, the abandoned cemetery that belongs to the Southern Methodist Conference. If you like my videos, remember, don't forget about them, and also don't forget about liking and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching.